Hello and welcome to this week's Rotherham Advertiser SportsChat Podcast. Joining me around the table this week is Miller's correspondent David Beddows and columnist Charlie Graves.
Very good morning.
Thank you very much for joining me today, gentlemen. Dave, talking about Saturday's 0-0 draw, it wasn't a classic, but the momentum keeps ticking on, 9th game unbeaten.
It does. I mean, people say it's not a classic. I think I'm the only one who thought it was a really good game on Saturday. I thought it was really watchable end to end. I thought both sides played some good stuff. And, it was another point in the right direction, wasn't it? With MK Don's drawing as well.
Yeah, Charlie, it can all be wrapped up on Tuesday, can't it? Just a few games ago, 10 games ago, it seemed like Rotherham were down and beaten and relegated. 10 games later, and they can confirm it against Huddersfield at the New York Stadium Tuesday night.
I have to say I was sceptical, with the way they were playing even after the Warnock effect came in. But you can't argue with the great job he's done. My only fear now is that, now that the hard work has been done and we're going to stay up, is that shouldn't mask what needs to be done for next season. I think the fact is we're still not a great side, and I think to make an impact, if in fact that's what the club decides they want to do, then we've got to invest fairly heavily in the close season. Otherwise, we're going to be in a situation that we were this season.
I think that's a good point. There's a lot of players out of contract this summer. There's a lot of work to be done for the new manager, whoever it is. Quite a bit of rebuilding job. And after all these wins, it's amazing to think Rotherham is still fourth bottom, which just shows you the damage that had to be repaired. So they've done terrifically well. But when you look at the same thing, it's the way we still are.
It's not just on the pitch either, is it, Charlie? It's off the pitch. Warnock spoke in his pre-match press conference about his plans that he's given to the chairman for the training ground, and about one or two other things behind the scenes. Everything needs upgrading, doesn't it, to make sure that Rotherham aren't in this position very often.
I think that's vitally important, but in a way, it's difficult to know how good that is, because if Warnock goes and they bring a new man in, he might want to do something entirely different. So I think it's important that this sort out Warnock's future fairly quickly, and if he is going to stay, then he can start going forward with these plans. But as you say, if he doesn't stay, and the suggestion is that he might not, because of his wife's illness and the fact that he said he doesn't really want a long-term job, who's going to come in, and if so, what are their plans going to be? Or do they want to do things differently to Warnock?
Dave, he said that he's going to sit down with the chairman in May once the season's finished. He wants to enjoy the end of the season. He's set the target going 13 unbeaten towards the end of the season. And he says he's going to sit down with Tony Stewart in May. How vital is it that there's some give and bend from both sides to try and for the best possibility for Neil Warnock to stay?
Yeah, probably. I mean, the final time they sit down round the table probably will be at the end of the season. I suspect both parties will know what they want to do before then. I mean, we've got some decent gaps between games, haven't we? Saturday on the last three. Plenty of time to think about it. There's a number of permutations here. Either Neil Warnock moves on with Kevin Blackwell at the end of the season. Could Neil Warnock stay on in an upstairs capacity? May Warnock go and Kevin Blackwell stays on? Bear in mind the good work he's done while he's been here. But then again, Kevin Blackwell and Neil Warnock tend to go as a package, don't they? They work together lately, so there's a number of permutations here, aren't there? Who knows what's going to happen?
Charlie, sorry, after you.
No, I'm just saying, I think I'm sceptical about whether he will stay because of his situation. But I think if he does go, there's a massive job for whoever comes in.
It is a huge job, isn't it, Dave? He's almost set the standards and raised the bar, and anyone coming in, it's going to be a hard act to follow. We said it about when Steve Evans left and Neil Redfern came in. It's a hard act to follow with all the success. Someone else has got to do exactly the same thing again, haven't they?
They have that strong. I mean, coming in, I suppose, on a 10-week contract, which is basically it was, and rallying the troops, doing a good job. There's a lot of hands to be dirtied this summer.
But we're talking
moving people on, bringing people in.
We're talking about it as if Neil's definitely going. Who's to say that they haven't shook hands on it at Yorkshire Handshake already, and then just waiting for the formalities to announce something?
I think what we're basing that on is what he said in the past, and when he came, that he liked to dip in and dip out rather than have a long-term job. That might have changed now because he seems to be very happy here and he's done a great job.
He does say he's got the glint back in his eye.
Yeah, but how much of a glint is it? And does he really want to have the hassle of a full-time job for the next season or two? I suspect he might not. He might leave a hero.
Well, that's the thing. If he leaves now, he's always welcome back a hero. Rotherham fans will always remember him. There's a chance that he stays. Rotherham are in the same position next season. He could get the boot, couldn't he? And then it's soured.
It is. I mean, he said he's going to be managing somewhere next season. You know, apparently he's got the glint back in his eye. I mean, will he have the glint back in his eye at a club nearer to his home down in the south? I don't know. I suppose more loving to stay, even if it's just to stay on an extra year and give Rotherham some stability, carrying them up that league a little bit so they're not in this position. You know, year after year, it's a slow build, isn't it, with a club like Rotherham in a division like this.
But I think, as we've said, irrespective of whether it's Warnock or whether it's Jose Mourinho, the fact is that we need to spend reasonably, because if you think of the teams coming down from the Premiership, you know, it's going to be even more competitive next season.
Well, it's funny, Warnock touched on that in his pre-match press conference. He said that the wage bills of the teams coming down, due to the increase in revenue that we're expecting to see next year, will be 4 or 5 times higher than Rotherham United's wage bill. Yeah. So that just goes to show, doesn't it? But then he also followed that up with the line, but money doesn't buy you success.
I mean, you've got 3 big juggernauts coming down, haven't you? Newcastle, Sunderland possibly, and Aston Villa. Have 3 clubs as big as that come down in one clutch before? I don't know. Balance that, who's coming up? Might be Burton, small club. You think they might struggle in our division. Walsall, who knows? So it's balanced really, but you can't see anything other than a harder division.
I'm not sure that Aston Villa are a juggernaut, more a sort of Robin Reliant, but I know what you're saying. But they've got to spend. Otherwise, you know, we'll be struggling again. And I can understand the chairman not wanting to, get them into mounds of debt. But on the other hand, what do we want to do? Do we want to keep struggling every season, or do we want to go for it?
Right, let's have a little talk about Tuesday night's game then. It's Huddersfield Town, Neil Warnock's old club. Still got a lot of love for the club and for the chairman as well. They're in town on Tuesday night. As we said earlier on, Rotherham conceal their championship status by not losing against Huddersfield, and MK Dons losing at Sheffield Wednesday. So Wednesday could actually do Rotherham a favour, Dave.
Yes, they could. I mean, it's hard to see MK Dons going to Hillsborough and winning and keeping the pressure on, isn't it? I mean, Huddersfield, they've done quite well, haven't they, with David Wagner? It's going to be interesting to see his Borussia Dortmund influence tomorrow
in
night
Yorkshire.
New York. Yeah.
Charlie, surely it's all just a matter of mathematics now, isn't it? It's all done and dusted, and the Kurt Broadfoots and Lee Frecklingtons are booking the holidays and buying the swimsuits. And
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Who would have thought that when Warnock was appointed that we would be in this situation and saying basically it doesn't really matter, does it, tomorrow? It'd be nice to keep the unbeaten run going, but if we lose, so what? We say so. Great. I hope it's a free-flowing game, and now that the shackles are off, that we go out and give them a good thumping.
Dave, he's also spoke about the fact he wants Rotherham to finish as high as possible. He values the fact that finishing on a high at the end of the season can lead well into another season. Everyone comes back to pre-season jovial and all those sort of things. It's like the knock-on effect of it. That's what we'll be telling his players, isn't it? There's no foot off the pedal from Neil Warnock.
No, there isn't. I mean, the last thing Rotherham want to be doing is falling over the line, isn't it? And you know, I mean, what is it, 9 points to the cushion now, and sort of squeaking on by 2 or 3, 4 points or whatever. And he'll want that. And there are players again playing for contracts, and there's a lot of them out of contract this summer, so plenty to go for.
I don't think that whether they finish on a strong note or a weak note will have any effect on the beginning of next season. I think, ironically, the fact that they are doing well under Warnock means that perhaps 1 or 2 players who were not doing so well might now be looking to go elsewhere now that their stock has risen a bit, so that could work as against us a little bit, but as I say, it's a massive job.
Do you think mentally the fact that Rotherham could move up to 16th in the league tomorrow with 1 win, jump 4 or 5, 6 teams, something like that, do you think mentally that could have an effect on them, looking at all the teams below them?
Yeah, I mean, you can cut through this bottom thing like a knife through butter, can't you, with a couple of decent wins. What was it, we finished last season, 4th, 5th bottom? You know, if we're 2 or 3 places I come the season's end, it's progress, isn't it?
It is. Right, gentlemen, let's have your predictions then for Tuesday night. Dave, Huddersfield Town in Rotherham, what do you think the score will be?
I'm going to go for a Miller's win and celebrations at the end, 2-1.
Ever the optimist David Beddows. Charlie Graves, I've got a feeling you might not be quite as...
Well, I think Huddersfield are doing alright. I think they'll come here and they'll want to play and they'll want to, do us in. But I think it might be a fairly high-scoring draw.
There you go, there you have it. You've got a Miller's win and a high-score draw from Charlie Graves. If you want to give us your predictions or join in with any of the chat, you can by tweeting us at Rothtizer Sport. Make sure you pick up your Rotherham Advertiser on Friday. That'll have all the action in from Tuesday night, as well as looking forward to Saturday's game. Thank you very much for listening.